My next very quick announcement is about a a brand new camera from WAT-910, which is called 910BD, which hasn't been released yet, but it's going to be released very soon, and which is very sensitive. Next slide, please. So far, we have been using, or I have been using at least, the WAT-910 120N and 120N Plus cameras. There was recently released a new camera which is called 910HX, which was reported to be much more sensitive than 120N. But a message from WAT-910 was that the new board camera, which is 910BD, is using a sensor which is 2 times more sensitive than the 910HX. And what they said is that they're going to update their existing 910HX cameras to use this new sensor, which is 2 times more sensitive, and that they're going to increase the start of the serial number of the new batch to start with 1001, and this is how you can recognize whether your 910HX camera uses the new sensor or not. And this new camera should be already available, but to buy. But of course, you need to check whether you're buying a camera from the old batch or from the new batch. Next slide. So I was lucky enough to get one of the new BD cameras and put it to a quick test. And what you see here is a 1.2 second exposure, where I compare my 120N, 910HX and the new 910BD cameras, and a star field from the star catalog. As you can see straight away, the HX and the BT cameras show significantly more stars. And if you look closer to the upper left corner, for example, of the image, and you compare the HX and the BD cameras, you can see that the BD cameras has brighter stars and less noise. So it is indeed more sensitive. Next slide. When I tried to determine what's the limiting magnitude I can see with my cameras through my 14-inch LX200, I was quite pleased to find out that with only 1.2 second exposure and with a fairly light populated area in Sydney with visual limited magnitude of 4.5, I could go down to magnitude 16, and I can easily see stars of magnitude 16 and also see stars of magnitude 16.3, 16.4, which I could measure. These are the very faint stars in this area, which is highlighted. Next slide. One of the catches of the new camera is that it's actually a board camera. So this is how it looks like, which means you can't really attach it directly to your telescope because it needs power and you don't have where to plug your video input in. The next slide. So I had to go through building a little box, an enclosure box for my camera, which looks something like this. And if you move to the next slide, please, you can see the camera attached to my telescope. And this is how I record the videos. You can see 3 cables which are going out of the camera. So the one on the top is the analog video cable. The other one, which looks like a serial port cable, it has power, but also the camera allows to be controlled by a computer. So I also have an option to control the camera through this cable. The third cable, which is in the middle, is the remote control for hand control of the camera. Next slide. So the unique features of the 110BD camera is that it is a board camera, which means if you want to buy it and you want to use it, you need to do something to build an enclosure for it, to attach it to a telescope. But another thing is that this camera actually supports a digital video output, which I haven't tested yet, but it certainly does support it. And it also supports computer control, which again, I haven't seen the specification yet, but it's certainly something which I will be very interested, because you could control the camera remotely as well. So if you usually remote desktop to your observatory computer, with this option now you'll be able to adjust the settings of your camera from the remote machine. Next slide. And pretty much this is all from me. Do you have the cost of the camera? Yes, so the new camera will cost roughly, so what I was told is that WAT doesn't sell the cameras, but they have a recommended price of 500 Australian dollars, which is roughly about 500 US dollars. But how much you can buy the camera depends entirely on what the local dealer wants for the camera. Is the chip the same size as? Yes, it is the same size. So I'm not sure about 902, but surely the chip size is the same as 120N. What software one would use for digital capture? Probably Oculec, the software which I showed you just before. How does the sensitivity compare to the FLIR cameras? I could say that the WAT cameras are more sensitive, but they're still 8-bit. So it depends. Real-time magnitude. Yes, this was a real-time magnitude. So if I understand the question correctly, was the 16 magnitude a real-time magnitude? Yes, this is what I was actually seeing on the screen. Is this what the question is? Okay, are there any other questions? Not integrating magnitude, real-time magnitude. Ah, okay. I haven't measured this, so I don't know. But it's certainly more sensitive than the 120N. So I just had to pick one integration rate, and I thought, well, maybe 1 second is somewhere in between. So it's not, it's not 5 seconds, and it's not real time. So I thought this would be useful comparison. Okay, if you don't have any other questions, I guess I can stop talking.